Good morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. We appreciate you listening. Give us a call at 612-504-8400. Visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. Check out all the classes. You know, we're celebrating 11 years this month, and you know, the goal 11 years ago when I started the company was to have multiple personalities in all these retirement areas. And if you're listening going, what do you mean all these retirement areas? At Haven Financial Group, we do retirement income planning, as we're talking about today, Social Security optimization, investment management and wealth preservation, tax planning, tax preparation, estate and legacy planning. We just had a absolutely full class in Bloomington here this past week. Wills, trusts, and legacy planning. People wanted to know how to avoid probate and ease of distribution. These are the types of retirement puzzle pieces. And again, I heard it several times. This is exactly what I was looking for, a one-stop shop. Thankfully, we have it. Everything doesn't have to be under one roof, but I say it, and I say it frequently. There should be more coordination with these retirement topics in retirement more than ever. And you do one thing over here, and maybe one thing over here, and I'm not doing this. And there's no efficiency. There's no coordination, and things are working against each other rather than for each other. And thankfully, we have that at Haven Financial Group.
Yeah, and one of those areas, as you mentioned, taxes, tax preparation, tax planning. Before retirement and certainly during your retirement, we have said over and over this morning that one of the relatives that you don't want to overpay would be Uncle Sam. And Lance Larsen is a CPA there at Haven Financial Group, and he wants to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we're taking this deep dive into taxes in retirement, and we want to talk about home sales and the taxation of home sales or just any kind of property. And, you know, Lance, I think this is one, you know, you've lived in your house for a lot of years, and maybe the value of your home has gone up and you're very happy about that. But you are wondering, is it going to be beneficial to me to sell this house and downsize if I'm going to have to pay capital gains? Well, if it's your primary residence, you might be okay, correct?
Exactly, Kim. So when people tell me that they're going to sell their primary house and they're going to move somewhere, I go through a very short list of questions with them. The first question I always ask them is, how much are you selling their house for? And they usually give me a good number. And then I get to come back with the second question is, and how much did you buy your house for? And most of the time when we do the difference between those two, that for a married couple, that you're looking at a number less than $500,000. And that number is very important because that leads to the third question. And then most of the time I get to kind of laugh as I ask this third one. Has this been your primary residence for at least 2 out of the last 5 years? And it was while I'm laughing because I know the answer. This has been, as you said, their primary residence for the last 20, 30, even 40 years. And so the answer is yes, Lance, of course. This has been my primary residence for at least 2 out of the last 5 years. And so the IRS has given this primary residence exemption where we can exclude up to $250,000 for a single person or $500,000 for a married couple of those capital gains. So just for some fun numbers, if you have a house that we're selling for $600,000, which is not unreasonable for most of the listeners out there, and you bought it some years ago for $300,000, well, that would mean your capital gain would be $300,000. But as a married couple, we can exclude up to $500,000 right there. So the $300,000 just goes away. It doesn't affect, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. Because we excluded, it's not going to affect you for Medicare and that IRMA because it just doesn't appear on the tax return. And so people tend to just take their money and they're able to walk away with it. Depending on where they're moving to, they will use that to buy their new place and maybe have some money left over. There's other ones that want to move to a little bit more of an expensive place, and we figure out numbers from there as well.
Sure, absolutely. One of the things that is important for people to know related to capital gains, as you're living in your house, it's important that you keep track of your expenses for upgrades and that kind of thing in your house, correct?
Correct, Kim. So again, let's go change those numbers. Now, instead of a $600,000 house, we are going to sell it for $1 million.
Mhm.
Well, we still had the same purchase price of 300,000. Well, then you say, oh, now the capital gain is 700. Well, not quite. Because if you've made improvements to your house, which have substantially improved the value of the house, such as adding a deck, finishing off the basement, or something that has prolonged the life of the house, such as a new roof, putting in new cement blocks as you're walking up to the house. It's something that's going to stand the test of time. All these are capital improvements which add to that basis. So now somebody who bought that house for 300, they have over their lifetime put in 200, $300,000.
Right.
Now we have a basis of 500 or 600,000. Now we sell it for the million. Now we get back to the exclusion and they can walk away with all the money
Sure.
again.
Absolutely. Now we've talked about your primary residence, but a lot of people, get into their retirement years and they've owned rental properties and that kind of thing, and they don't want the hassle anymore. It's time to get rid of all of that. So what happens if you own property that's not considered your primary residence?
Since those properties right there, they'll be considered investment properties. And unfortunately, it's going to be a very similar questions that I asked. How much did you buy it for? How much did you sell it for? This time, when you asked the question, was it your primary residence? No, it's not. So we don't get that exclusion. So therefore, we are going to have to pay the capital gains on that. So, there are certain ways to get around that. One of the first ones that people know about is what they call a 1031 exchange. That is that we're going to sell a property and then we're going to take those proceeds and we're going to put it into a new investment property. It's a couple of situations where I've seen that. One is a couple living here in Minnesota sell the rental property here, but they're moving down to Florida. Well, they still want to have the passive income. They just don't want to deal with Minnesota anymore. So they sell the house here in Minnesota to buy a rental property down in Florida right next to them as well. So that's something that they can manage when they're living down there.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, you avoid all the capital gains today, and it becomes an issue we get to deal with in the future.
Okay. Yeah. If you reinvest that money, you still have to pay regardless, you do still have to pay a tax on it.
Eventually. The only way that we really get around that one is by holding property until we pass away and have it part of your estate, which then we can have it as a step up in basis by someone passing away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions about capital gains tax and selling property that you want people to know when it comes to taxes?
So the biggest thing that I've come across is people are mixing up that 1031 exchange and thinking, oh, it's my primary residence. As long as I go buy a new place, I don't have to pay anything. Well, the short answer is they're kind of right, but the real answer is that no, the way that you are not going to pay the taxes is by recognizing the gain today and using that exclusion.
So, Lance, I guess what I hear you saying is just like your Social Security, just like any other, your retirement accounts, the selling of any kind of property that you own is individual to you, and all the more reason to have a partner to talk you through this before you make this move.
Exactly, Kim. Because every financial decision is going to be yours. It's not your neighbors. It's not your siblings. It's not your kids. It's your decision. It's your factors that are going into it. So you get two different people, even though they may have very similar ideas and very similar assets, the temperament of the people, what they want to do is going to be so different that they each have to have their own plan and move forward with that.
Sure, absolutely. Larry, time and time again, it just goes to show your retirement is your retirement. It's not your next door neighbors, and any decisions you're making, from whether you're selling your property to, drawing from your 401k. These are decisions that you need to make based on your situation.
It is. It's not one glove fits all. It certainly isn't. So do you have a partner that you can bounce these ideas off of? Do you have a tax preparer or a CPA that you can come on in and visit with, ask questions, a financial advisor that you can actually visit with? And I've said this numerous times in all the years we've been on, is retirement is more than a meeting once or twice a year for 45 minutes to an hour. all these retirement puzzle pieces, we try to make sure, we try to simplify the process. We don't want things to be complicated, but there's a lot of moving pieces to retirement. And quite frankly, there should be much more education, because just when you think you figure these things out, like Medicare and healthcare and taxes, guess what? They change the rules. The tax code doesn't always make sense. Social Security doesn't always make sense. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. So we try to help people make as much sense with these topics as possible to avoid pitfalls and mistakes that happen all the time, simply because there's no conversations that are being had.
So, folks, you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Give the folks at Haven Financial Group a call. The number is 612-504-8400, 612-504-8400. Set up a free consultation. Go in and sit down and talk with the folks there at Haven Financial Group. Tell them about a plan that you already have, and maybe they can help you massage that plan and make sure that it is up to date and that it's going to be the most effective for you. Or if you have no plan at all, they can sit down from square one and start to walk you through a wonderful retirement portfolio that is going to make you happy and is going to make those golden years the very best. 612-504-8400. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation about taxes. We're going to talk about strategies. There could be some real opportunities associated with tax strategy, but they come with some risks. So we'll talk about those on the other side of the break. This is the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.